Hi everybody, welcome back. Well, it's officially 1 week into summer, and so I thought this would be a good time to give you kind of an overview of how things are going here at Wineberry Hill. And if you have a challenging or difficult garden or property, hopefully this video will be a source of encouragement to you, because really, this is a tour of my terrible property. One of the prominent features on my property is rock. In about half of my property, you dig 6 inches down and you will hit continuous flat bedrock. Not much you can do with that. You can jackhammer it, which is what I had to do for 2 months straight when I was putting in the greenhouse. The rest of it, if you want to dig a hole this big, well, you have to dig a hole this big because it's filled with rock. And so this is one of the reasons why raised beds are my kind of go-to answer for gardening. One of my favorite things about this property is also one of my biggest challenges. Since we're in the woods, everyone that lives in the woods wants to eat our garden. And so in order to be able to garden, I have to put my plants in prison. And this can be highlighted by the fact that normally nightshades like tomatoes are poisonous for deer to eat. The deer on my property will eat a tomato plant, tomatoes, leaves, and the whole plant all the way down to the ground. Another example, in the past 2 weeks I have caught 8 woodchucks in live traps. And this morning I saw a 9th going across the patio. So it's a never-ending saga.
Hey, they're chasing us. Come on, make it fun.
Here on the patio and around the patio, I have a variety of different plants growing. I do have some plants not with protection because they're herbs that in general aren't very popular among woodchucks and deer. We'll see how long that holds out. I also have kind of a mixed bed that has a tomato plant, some basil, and green beans. And then these 2 columns have tomatoes in them. And then the plants on either side of the trellis, one is a lemon cucumber and one is a cucamelon. And then that front bed up there, or those 2 front beds by Vigo, have green beans because I love green beans. Another challenge that I've had to deal with is everything is on a slope. In fact, every single flat spot that I have that I can grow something on, I've had to dig out by hand. Here on the first terrace, right close to my house, I have one of the larger beds that I have made, and that is full of zucchini. And then I have 2 Vigo raised beds behind, and I'm trying broccoli this year. I've never had very much success with broccoli, so I'm gonna try it. I have a heat-tolerant variety, and as you can see, I have them under shade cloths. Hopefully that will help them feel like their needs are getting met. All of these terraces on my property mean one thing. In order to get from one terrace to the next, I have to build a lot of stairs. Not my favorite, but you need them. And so this is why I have quite a few videos on my channel about doing just that, making stairs. Moving up to the second terrace, I have cucumbers. It's all cucumbers growing in these 3 beds. The third tier is where I have the majority of my garden growing. These first 3 raised beds have tomatoes and basil growing in them. And then I have a bed that has tomato and herbs and green beans. And then the stone bed has peppers. Additionally, on this level is my greenhouse where I am growing kale, broccoli, peppers, tomatoes, strawberries, lettuce, and something else I'm forgetting. But I have more to talk about that in a minute if I can bring myself to talk about it. I've never had great success growing sunflowers on my property. And so I decided in the one sunny spot that I do have, I'm going to try to grow sunflowers in the Fort Knox of raised beds. There is hardware cloth surrounding this entire raised bed, and so far, so good. We'll see if I'm able to grow sunflowers in it. On the 5th level, which is just a few steps up, that's where my water tank is. I have an apple tree or two and lots of wineberries. On the topic of sunlight, well, as you can see, I'm trying a new experiment where I have reflective panels behind most of the beds here on the 3rd terrace. We'll see how that goes. But it's because, by and large, all of the trees that can be cut down that affect these beds have been cut down. There are trees that are out of my control because they're not on my property, and they create pretty heavy morning and afternoon shade. And so I just have to work with it. The raised beds here right next to the front of the greenhouse contain several different types of tomatoes, as well as basil. I like to always grow basil with my tomatoes. Inside the greenhouse, see if I can talk about this without crying. I mentioned what I'm growing. I'm growing lettuce and tomatoes and peppers and strawberries and kale and broccoli and yada, yada, yada. This past week, I wasn't paying attention and I left the door open on my greenhouse. Well, you probably guessed what happened. I can see chew marks all over the place from a groundhog. One of the things that I did this year was remove my old 3-bin compost system. And so because I had all of the cinder block up here, I decided for the time being to make use of it. And so I made this pretty chunky looking raised bed out of all of those blocks because they were already right here. And so of course I'm growing green beans. I'm also growing green beans here in this bed. And then in this pot here, I'm growing moringa, which is a type of tree. And I'm hoping that I can get it to a decent size because then come fall, I'm gonna need to take it into the greenhouse and see if I can keep it alive in the greenhouse. I've mentioned it in other videos, but yeah, you have to find uses for all of this rock. And a real quick shout out to one of my favorite choices, outdoor shower. It makes working outside so much better. So if you're on the fence about building an outdoor shower, do it. Best decision I ever made. All right, Cooper's probably gonna jump in here in a second. I noticed over the winter that there were some muddy spots where I normally walked because I didn't have pavers in those spots. And so this spot right here from the kind of the back door, thank you, Cooper, to the walk along the front of the chicken run, this spot would get muddy. And also the spot kind of coming around the corner to this paved area also got muddy, so I'm going to be paving that spot over there. Of all the tasks that I take on during the course of a week, I believe composting and general soil production is probably one of the most important tasks I can undertake. And a lot of that is because being reliant on commercial fertilizers is kind of silly in my opinion, but it's also really harmful to your soil. Made videos about it. I won't bore you anymore on that topic. Let's just say I feel very strongly about it. I currently have 6 246-gallon compost bins in full production, and I wish I had 10 times that amount. I'm super happy with the success of the chicken run and chicken coop combination. The salad bar is working out really great. And in addition, I also posted a video recently of the brooder. I had chicks, and then I have placed the chicks here in the brooder. They're getting really big. They're getting pullet size, and that is going amazingly. So I'm really happy about all of my chicken related decisions as of late. But there was a lot of failures that got me to this point. And maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later. And of course, next to the chicken coop is the rabbit village. And I have completed 2 successful kindles. And so that means there are a lot of bunnies going on over here. In fact, between the chickens and the bunnies, the number is over 60. So yeah, there was a lot of cuteness this past spring. Now, for those of you that kind of keep track, you probably noticed that this is new. I have these 3 raised beds that are kind of strange looking. Well, that's because these are raised mushroom beds. And so that's something I'm kind of working on right now. 1 gorgeous bed from North Spore, and then 2 other beds that are kind of my take on a mushroom bed. There'll be more about that in the coming harvest season, probably in the fall. Now over on this corner of the property, I have struggled over the years because it's very shady. And so it was hard to get anything to grow. And then it occurred to me, oh, right, mushrooms. Mushrooms don't mind the shade. And so that's one of the big reasons why I really kind of leaned into putting raised mushroom beds over here. It did require me to get this hillside cleared, and then I had to kind of dig it back. But now it's kind of taking shape. This also allowed me to add an additional 12 feet of log storage. As you can see, I've got a bunch of logs to split. I'm really happy with this particular portion of my property, and this is where my fodder crops are growing. So this is red and white clover, this is alfalfa, and timothy grass. And this makes it possible for me to come out and cut out big handfuls and then feed them to my rabbits. My rabbits go crazy for it, and it is saving me money on food costs. At the beginning of this video, I mentioned that this was a terrible property. And 15 years ago, if you had asked me, I would have told you that yes, this is indeed a terrible property. It was my wife that, when she looked at what was here, had the vision to say, yeah, there's something that we can work with. It took me a little while to kind of get my head around it. Once I did, I realized, well, first of all, this is the land I have, so I have to make do with it. But also, you know, after working with it, hey, the things that can be challenges actually turn out to also be advantages. And so if there is too many rocks, build lots of rock walls and stone walkways and all the other stuff that I've done with the rocks over the years. If there is limited sunlight, well, there's different things that you can do to encourage sunlight to get to your plants. Also, the greenhouse kind of plays into that part of the story as well. If there's a lot of shade, well, lean into it. There's plenty of things that grow in the shade, including mushrooms. So I hope that what you take away from this real quick overview of what I'm working on right now gives you a little bit of motivation if you have a challenging piece of property that will, what do plants need? Help them grow? I do this for a living. Probably looks different to those of you that keep track because I have these, it's hard to think with Cooper yelling in my ear. Between the rabbits and the chickens, I have over 60 different kinds of livestock. 60 different kinds of livestock? 60 animals. Okay, let's try it again. Hopefully your takeaway is that if you have a challenging property, something can be done. It might require terracing. And for the 10 people that made it this far in the video, thank you very much. Please consider doing the YouTube stuff, the liking, subscribing, the commenting. That really seems to help out the channel. And if you'd like additional ways to support the channel, check out wineberryhill.com where you can download guides and get t-shirts and stuff like that. And as always, if you liked this video, you might like these.